Okay, we have gotten out from our math work text, page 33, all the way to page 36. So 33, 34, 35, 36. And you should be looking at the picture on page 33 as I read the story. Horatio Hunt. Haley wove through the crowded streets of Provincetown at the Cape Cod National Seashore. She glanced into the window of a diner just in time to see a tourist pop an oyster into her mouth. "Oysters, Horatio," Haley exclaimed. "I bet you'd never eat one of those." There was no whiskery tickle to her ear in answer. "Horatio?" Haley asked, looking at her shoulder and then up into a nearby tree. "Horatio, where are you?" Haley frowned and kept walking, looking around in concern. "I hope he hasn't gotten lost," she thought. As she headed toward Pilgrim Monument, she noticed a column of smoke. Hoping that Horatio wasn't responsible, she hurried toward it. When Haley drew closer, she realized the smoke was from a huge clam bake. People in white aprons were stacking raw clams in racks and then placing the racks on top of glowing hot coals. Customers stood around eating the steamed clams, but there was no sign of Horatio. She spotted a small blonde-haired boy with a pushcart rushing through the crowd as if trying to get away from someone. Then she noticed Horatio bounding after the boy. "Hey, stop!" Haley shouted. The boy froze in his tracks and looked at her in surprise. Haley felt her face get hot as she blushed. She had meant to yell at Horatio, not at the boy. I'm sorry," Haley stammered. "I was talking to my pet squirrel, Horatio. He's right behind you. Was he chasing you?" "Yeah, he was," the boy replied. "I was counting out the peanut butter sandwiches I had made when your squirrel, Henry, tried to take one." Haley laughed. "His name is Horatio. I'm sorry he tried to steal a sandwich from you. What's your name?" "Andrew," the boy answered. "But you can call me Andy." Horatio scampered around Andy's feet and jumped onto Haley's shoulder, then bent close to her ear as if he was whispering. Haley grinned at the boy. "That's squirrel talk for I'm sorry." She peered inside Andy's pushcart curiously. "You sure have a lot of sandwiches there. Are you hungry or something?" she joked. Andy giggled. "No, these aren't for me. I'm supposed to drop off 112 of these sandwiches at a boys' home. We made 308 sandwiches in all at my church, and I need to save 37 of them for our Bible club later today. Any extra sandwiches will be given to the orphanage. I'm wondering how many sandwiches I'd have left to take to the orphanage. Want to help me count?" Haley squealed with delight. "Horatio, remember how we've been learning that math helps people help other people? This is an opportunity for us to use what we learned." Horatio chattered at Haley in irritation. She frowned. "Horatio," she said quietly, "those sandwiches are for the kids at the boys' home, the Bible club, and the orphanage. All of those kids are special. They are made in the image of God. It's important for us to use math to help people because they reflect who God is by bearing his image." Horatio blinked twice. Then he slumped his shoulders and gave a quiet chirp of consent. Haley smiled. "I'm glad you agree." Then she looked at Andy with determination. "We're ready to help." All right, some of the things we'll be learning in the next unit, which we're starting today because we can't take a test on Thursdays. We'll have the test tomorrow, but we're going to go ahead and start a new unit. We're going to be learning about rounding again. Remember, rounding to the nearest 10, rounding to the nearest 100, rounding to the nearest 1,000. We're going to use it to estimate the sum. And some of you are not paying attention, and I need you to wake up and pay attention and stop playing around. All right, we're going to use it to estimate the sum or estimate the difference for the subtracting, okay? We're also going to learn how to rename, all right? So let's do the sample problems that show a little bit of what we're going to be learning. So look at number 1. Turn your paper over to page 41. It says Andy has about 200 sandwiches. How many sandwiches does Andy have? So which one of those numbers, raise your hand, do not blurt out, which one of those numbers would round to 200? Adam?
208.
208. Very good. All the rest would say go higher, wouldn't they? Because you look at the tens column and we see a 275, we see a 250, and a 298. So all of those say go higher. So you should be picking 208. The 0 would say stay the same, stay at 200. All right, the next section we are going to just go ahead and add the sandwiches. We're not going to estimate, which is what we'll be doing on our paper today. We're just going to add them. It says the boys' home needs 112 sandwiches. The Bible club needs 37 sandwiches. So how many sandwiches does Andy need? So what you're going to do is go to that box, and in the box you're going to write 112 plus, here's the number, guys. Are you guys awake? What is it?
37.
Thank you. You guys need to wake up. When you write it, make sure your ones column is lined up. Make sure your tens column is lined up. You do not want to write it like this. I'm going to write it really big so those of you on the other side can see. Why do you not want to write it like that?
Because
Cass?
3 is in 100.
Yes, because then your 3 is in your hundreds column, and this 7, which is supposed to be in the ones column, is in the tens column. This is not lined up properly. So you need to make sure that you're using what we learned about place value. Make sure the 2 and the 7, which are both in the ones column, and the 1 and the 3 are nicely lined up. All right, this one does not even have renaming, so you would just say 2 plus 7 is 9. And I do not want to just hear from Olivia. Everyone, wake up. All right, 1 plus 3 is 4. And the 1 in the hundreds plus nothing is
0.
1 plus nothing is not 0.
1.
What's 1 plus nothing? Eric, what is 1 plus 0? What? 1 plus 0. 1? Yes, 1, not 0. Okay, 1 plus nothing is the same thing as 1 plus 0. So what is our answer?
149.
All right, now you're also going to be writing it going across. If you look over to the side, they have a line for the number and little circles for the signs. So writing going across, you're going to write 112 and then put a plus sign in the circle, plus 37 and put an equal sign in the circle, and go ahead and put the answer again. And then below that, they have another line, and on that, you're going to write 149, what? Sandwiches. 149 sandwiches. And if you do not know how to spell sandwiches, just look at the question. The question was asking you how many sandwiches. So you will copy the word sandwiches from that line. Come on. Let's go. Put the answer in sandwiches. Okay, I'm going to erase that. That was the easy part. The next problem is subtraction, and with this problem, they are making us do some renaming. So you will have to pay attention, because since I haven't already taught it, I'm just showing you something we're going to be learning. You must pay attention. Got it? All right, let's read the problem together. It says, Andy has 208 sandwiches and needs 149 sandwiches for the boys' home and Bible. The orphanage will receive the extra sandwiches. How many sandwiches will the orphanage receive? So what are we going to do? We're going to subtract. What's the biggest number? 208. I'm going to write really big so you can see what I'm doing. So you're going to write 208 minus, how many did the boys' home and Bible club need?
149.
149. Let's make sure we look at the number again so that we know what we're going to say. 149. So everybody write that in the box. Put it in the box, because that's where we're going to do the work. Alright, let's sit up and pay attention. Alright, so we're going to start here in the ones column. We're going to say 8 minus 9. Can you do that? No, you cannot. Because if I have 8 pieces of candy, can you take 9 pieces of candy away from me? No, I don't have enough. called renaming. Now we're going to go to the tens column, but the tens column is a 0. So we can't rename from the tens column, so we're going to have to go to the hundreds column. You're going to cross out that 2 and take one group from the hundreds. So remember we learned that 100 is the same as 10 tens, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to take one of these hundreds and turn it into tens. And we turned it into 10 tens. Well, guess what? If we put a little 1 that we took from this 2 here, what number does that now look like? Brennan, I'm up here. Please look up here. Do you see how I did that? I just put a little tiny 1 right here, and now this doesn't look like 0 anymore. It looks like a 10. And 0 tens plus 10 tens is 10 tens, right? So now we have 10 tens. Now we can borrow to give to this one that needs to be bigger. So we're going to cross out this 10 and it becomes a 9. And remember we learned that 1 10 is equal to 10 ones. So 10 ones plus 8 ones is what? What's 10 plus 8? 18. So we're going to put a little tiny 1 here. So now this 8 doesn't look like 8, it looks like 18. Now we can subtract. We can say 18 minus 9. 9. Very good. And then we can say the 9 minus 4. 5. And then we can say 1 minus 1.
0.
Okay, but are we going to put the 0?
No.
No, we don't need it because our final answer is just 59. And if I told you to write 59, would you put 059?
No.
No, so once we realize we don't need the 0, we're not going to put it. If you put it, then go ahead and erase it. Now, if we had thousands, we would need it because we'd have to hold up in that hundreds column. All right, let me move on our side so some of you can see. All right, so we had 208. We couldn't do 8 minus 9, so we went to the 0. We couldn't borrow from the 0 or rename from the zeros. We went to the hundreds. Cross out the 2, it became a 1. We took 100 away. So we gave 10 tens, because 10 tens is the same thing as that 100. We gave 10 tens to the 0, so it became 10, because 10 and 0 is still 10, right? Then we could borrow from the 10, cross out the 10, and it becomes a 9, because we took 1 10 away. So 10 ones is the same thing as 1 10, so we added 10 ones to the ones column. 10 plus 8 is 18, so make that be 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. 9 minus 4 is 5. 1 minus 1 is nothing. We don't need it because that is the final answer, just 59. I'm not saying that every time you have a 0, you don't put it. I'm saying if it ends up in the front, okay? If it ends up in the front of the number, you don't need it, do you? Yes?
Will this be on the test?
No, hon, this is not on the test. I just had to go out. I'm not going to waste a day. We're going to go and start the new things. I can't give a test on Thursdays. The test is over what we talked about yesterday. And the paper you did yesterday and the homework you'll do tonight is like the test. This is new. I would not put something like this on the test. All right. Now I need you. Oh, we need to fill in that last thing, don't we? All right, so it says Andy and Haley use math to help people because God made people in his own image. Okay, yesterday I told you what word to write, and some of you decided to write your own word, and some of you decided not to look at the board and copy it from the board, so you spelled it wrong, even though I told you the plan had 2 ends. Please copy the word image and spell it correctly. Oh yes, we do need to put the answer and a label of sandwiches. We need to write the problem going across. When you write this problem going across, you do not have to, actually they're not making you write going across, are they? No, they aren't. You're just writing 59 sandwiches. On the line, you do need to write 59 sandwiches. So just the answer and the label. So on the line underneath the story problem, write 59 sandwiches. And then on the last line, put the word image. And then let's start the next paper. All right, so get page 35. And we're going to do what's called estimate. And you may be like, well, what's estimate? Well, you really already know because it's just rounding. Okay, it's just rounding. You may be rounding to the nearest 10, or you may be rounding to the nearest 100. So look in the blue box. In the blue box, they have 74 plus 15. So 74, the 4 says stay the same. So they put in the estimate box, they put 70 because you stayed the same as 70. And then 15 would go higher, so you go up to 20. And then can you easily add 70 plus 20 in your mind?
Yes.
Yes, because 7 plus 2 is 9. So 70 plus 20 is 90.
So
All right, let's look at the second. Let's look at, no, and then they want you to add it up for real. So you really go 4 plus 5 and 7 plus 1 and get the real answer. So we're going to do both. We're going to estimate, and then we're going to do the real problem. Then you look at the other estimate. This time you're rounding to the nearest hundreds because these numbers are in the hundreds. So look at the tens column, 287. The 8 says go higher, so they rounded that one to 300. Jonathan, please do not work on your paper ahead of me. I am still explaining the blue box. That's what I want you to be looking at, please. And then 510, the 1 says stay the same. The low numbers say stay the same, so you're going to stay at 500, and easily you can add 300 plus 500, 800. And then they also want you to do the real problem. But we're not going to go through that because you already know how to do that. Now let's go to the first row and do number 1. All right, so we're adding 52 plus 35. I've actually written this one on the board. All right, so 52. The 2 says
Stay the same.
so in this box where it says estimate, you put a 5 and a 0 because we're going to stay the same at 50. So put a 50 in that blue box where it says estimate. That's 52 rounds to 50. All right, and 35, 5 says go higher, so we're going to round that to 40. All right, and we can add 50 plus 40 in our heads really easily. 5 plus 4 is? 9. So 50 plus 40 is? 90. So just go and put 90 there. I mean, that's something you could stand in the store and do. Round bigger numbers and then add them up quickly. But let's do the real thing. 2 plus 5 is? 7. And 5 plus 3 is? 8. 5 plus 3 is 8, guys. All right, I'm just going to talk you through the other two. I'm not going to write them on the board, so let's look at the next problem. The next problem is 36 plus 32. So 36 would round to?
Go higher.
40, because it does say go higher. 36 would round to 40. And 32?
Stay the same.
Stays the same, so you're going to stay at 30. And then 40 plus 30? 70, because 4 plus 3 is 7, so 40 plus 30 is 70. All right, now let's add up the real thing. 6 plus 2? 8. And 3 plus 3?
6.
6, so 68. And by the way, notice that still rounds to 70, doesn't it? 68 would round to 70, wouldn't it? All right, next problem. 26 plus 31. 26? Go higher. 26, go higher, so 30. And 31? Stay the same, so stays at 30. And then you add that up, 30 plus 30? 60. Now let's add up the real thing. 6 plus 1?
7.
And 2 plus 3?
5.
5. So 57, which would round to 60. All right, now let's go. I put one of the hundreds columns on the board also. So the very first one in the hundreds, rounding to nearest hundreds. 450 plus 221, 450. What do you look? Tens column says go higher. Some of you are saying stay the same, but you're supposed to be looking at the tens column to round to the nearest hundred. The 5 says go higher, so we're going to go to 500. So put 500 on top. And 221, the 2 in the tens column says stay the same, so we're going to say 200. That's the estimate. And easily, 500 plus 200 is 700. Very good. 700. Now let's add up the real thing. 0 plus 1 is 1. 5 plus 2 is 7. And 4 plus 2 is 6. And if you look at that, 7 says go higher, so that would still round to 700, which is what we got when we estimated, right? All right, let's do the next one. 592 plus 307. That 9 says?
Go higher.
So you're going to go to? 600. 600. 307, I see a 0. 0 says? Stay the same. So stay at? 300. And 600 plus 300 would be? 900, because 6 plus 3 is 9. Alright, now let's add up the real. 2 plus 7? 9. And 9 plus 0? 9 again. And 5 plus 3? 8. And that would round to 900. I mean, round to 900. Said rhyme. All right, next one is 101 plus 472. What about 101? Stay the same, so stay at 100. And then 472, go higher, because that's 7 tells you to go higher. So you're going to go from 400 to
500.
You're working ahead of me. You need to stop, because you're just playing around now. You're supposed to stay with me, and if you're not working, you need to get busy. But stop working ahead of me. All right, and 100 plus 500 is? 600. All right, now let's add the real thing. 1 plus 2.
3.
0 plus 7.
7.
And 1 plus 4.
5.
All right, now we're going to do a story comment. I want you to pay attention because it says solve and complete the sentence to answer the question. And it says 29 pilgrims went ashore in the morning. 12 more pilgrims went ashore in the afternoon. But listen to this question. Listen. It says, some of you are going to have to do this problem over again because you're not doing it right. It says about how many pilgrims went ashore. So what are they wanting us to do? Yes, they want us to round. So 29 would round to 30. Go to the box. And over there on the side, put 30. And 12 would round to 10. And you need to put what kind of sign in the little circle? Plus, because you're adding. Because they're saying that 29 went in the morning and 12 more went in the afternoon. And 30 plus 10, you can add that up easily. 40. All right, when you write it going across, you're still going to write 30 plus 10 equals
40.
You need to write it going across too. 30 plus 10 equals 40, and then you're going to put 40 pilgrims. Very good. There's your label, 40 pilgrims. All right, I'm going to let you work on the back on your own, just to see if you're understanding it, and you can call me to help you if you need help.